Welcome, everybody. My name is Gary Whiteson. I'm the Executive Director of POAC Autism Services. If you don't know POAC, we're a nonprofit agency, not funded by the government, but we're the largest provider of autism training, education, and recreation in the state of New Jersey. If you have a loved one with autism, this year alone, we have 313 days worth of free stuff that you could go to. I like to say we teach teachers to become better educators. As a former classroom teacher, I can tell you we were not given the tools and training to work with this population. I have a whole bunch of letters after my name. Means nothing. Just went to school a very long time. But I am a certified law enforcement instructor, civilian, but I teach police, crisis intervention, behavioral de-escalation. I've trained over 78,000 New Jersey first responders. I think we're up to 137 lives directly credited saved, where the chief has called us up and said this child would have been dead if not for you training my officers. In addition to that, training for parents and teachers year long. We do professional development, in person, online, we have it all covered, but my focus has always been the safety aspect. But probably my biggest credential, my biggest flex, if you would, is I'm a proud father of a young man, Christopher, who has autism. And yes, Christopher is a social media star. He's on different social media, and we almost don't go anywhere without him being recognized. We were in Disney, we got stopped by 4 families. Hey, it's Christopher. And Dad. Yeah, no one knows my name. It's always like Chris, and then they realize, oh, yeah, you, So I get that as well. But Chris has millions of likes. He's followed by famous people. It's really, it's crazy how that exploded and how it brings more people to be aware of us. Tonight we're talking about internet safety, just not for individuals on the spectrum, really for everybody. It affects everybody. And this month is National Internet Safety Month, if you're not aware of that. So perfect timing the way you guys set this up. Who was here born before 2007? Right? Isn't it crazy that smartphones did not exist before that date? And now it's such a part of our lives. We can't imagine, I can't even remember a time when, in fact, I was watching, I saw Bruce Springsteen on Broadway when he did his Broadway show, and there was a scene in there, he said, yeah, we were traveling with the other band members, 2 cars, and then they took the wrong turn. He goes, back in the 80s, if you were lost, you were lost. There was no cell phones, there was nothing. And it's amazing, it's such a part of our lives. Banning technology, I often hear from parents, well-meaning parents, well, we're just gonna not let my kid have the internet. Well, one, no, that can't happen. We're in a library right now. There's internet here right now. There's internet in Starbucks. There's internet on your phones, of course, but there's internet on gaming systems. Everywhere you go, it's there, and if they have a friend, or even not a friend, hey, can I look at your phone? Yeah, it's there. We cannot ban it. We have to be aware, work with our children, and I'm gonna say this a few times, work with the kids. We have a family media agreement that we go over. It's not gonna work if you're like, Johnny, you have to do this. Well, Johnny won't. We all know Johnny won't. When we gotta sit together and we talk as a family unit, hey, John, what do you think's fair? Is this fair? 3 hours? Do you think you need more? Let's talk it. But that's how you build this relationship. So we're going to talk about, let me stand this way, talk about your child, about internet safety, managing the risk, choosing content. The content's crazy. And you could even do nice searches that you think are nice. My daughter went to Catholic school when she was young. So we did a lot of reports on saints. And there was one, St. Teresa. And a picture popped up. That wasn't St. Teresa. Let me just, it was not St. Teresa. It's crazy. I did a training for teachers, and I was talking about differential reinforcement. Basically, if a student does something for the first time independently, be the cheerleader. You know, not like, good, like now you're the cheerleader. So on a Google image, to get a picture of a cheerleader, it took me to page 11 to find a picture I was comfortable putting out there. And the picture was a beagle, a dog dressed as a cheerleader. All the other pictures were X-rated or definitely R-rated, you know. And it's just out there. It's just out there. Choosing devices, that's a big thing. You know, that's one of our few choices we have, and resources. And when I tell you we have resources, you wouldn't believe this 2-page document alone, Internet Safety Resources, will change your life. There's whole tested curriculum for schools to teach internet safety in the school, for parents to teach in school. It's all in there, and it's amazing. NetSmarts is one of my favorite ones that I use. So parents always ask, when should my child be on social media? Well, it's up to mom and dad, but since you asked, they should not have, no child should have a social media footprint before they're 14 years old. That's the age. And what do I mean by social media footprint? My name's Gary Whiteson, and I live in Toms River. Gary Whiteson, Toms River, hit enter. For me, you're gonna get like a million things on there. For your 11-year-old student/child, I don't wanna see anything, unless it's like, you know, John Smith, who's 91 and just passed away. No, I've told that to so many parents, and so many times they go home that night and they type in their child's name, their 9-year-old autistic child's name, and up pops everything about them. Their street address, their home phone number, where they go to school, what clubs they belong to. And it blows the parents' minds, and the students' mind didn't even think that was a bad thing. And a lot of times they don't even realize it's out there. Answer a simple question, you know, a free app, it's all free. Download it for free. Now we just need your name and address, and then it's out there. Or download this attachment. You know? So 13 under, no social media footprint whatsoever. And there's devices. I'm not saying they can't go on the internet. I don't want any of their information out there. And most of the kids' information's out there. It's scary. 14 to 15, that's kind of the age where, okay, let's talk to the kids if they're ready for it, and what can we do as a family, as a school district, to ensure that people are safe and the kids and young men and women get to, you know, use the beauty that is the internet. It's amazing, the technology and the stuff is out there. I don't think I know how to use an encyclopedia anymore. We're in a library. It's like, if I told you how many times, well, let me Google that. Yeah. You know, and like some things I don't even need to know. But I'm like, no, I have to know, you know. Training at St. Dominic's. I mentioned my daughter went to Catholic school. I volunteered. I was one of the parent volunteers at St. Dominic's in Bricktown. And because of the history of the church, you know, anytime there was volunteers, they were like, they had the sheriff's department come in, we had to get fingerprinted, and we had to go through an entire safety training, 4 hours training, before they allowed us to volunteer in the school, which I thought was awesome. I wish everybody would do that, right? The sheriff, Ocean County Sheriff, who I'm friends with, they came up and said, let me tell you a case of the internet. There's this man, he's in jail now, he's in jail forever, he's not coming out of jail, was convincing young girls, his sweet spot was 10 to 12 years old, that's what he targeted, young girls to disrobe from the waist up totally, shirt and brassiere. Why? Because they were on the computer, he hacked them and said, you just messed up your parents' computer. And the only way this could be saved, I need to do a weight test with you against a whiteboard with you topless. Well, you think that's ridiculous. Who's going to do that? 63 girls did it. 63 girls from age 7 to 14, but most 10 to 12. And these weren't girls on the spectrum. These were just young women. This is happening. This is happening. We were talking earlier about safety, and so often the safety workshops and information workshops, people are like, I know how to keep my kids safe. I don't let them look at anything bad on the internet. No, the moment you say this can't happen to my student, this can't happen to my child, you're doing one thing and one thing only, increasing the likelihood that it could. That's it. That's it. So this is really happening, and that man's in jail. But 63 girls, he convinced. 63 girls. And you tell these stories and people don't believe you, and it's local, right up the road from here. So what age should my child get a smartphone? What age? I'm going to point to you. Tell me a number.
14.
14? 14's not bad, right? Kind of goes in, but there are devices out there. How many kids, what's the youngest student in this school?
I'd say like 4th grade probably.
No.
Right? They're starting to get them even younger and younger and younger. And the fancy ones, iPhones and Androids, So when should you get it? This is our breakdown. Age 0 to 6, the only thing they should have are kid-friendly tablets that are designed strictly for children. The Kindle Fire for Kids is one of them. Really, it's all built in. And the most, 15 to 30 minutes per session. We want to really cut down on screen addiction. That's like, I see a group of students together, all you see is their phones, they're not even talking. And if a student or adult or a teacher is constantly on their phone, well, that's a sign that they're addicted to, social media and other stuff, and it's harmful. There's been so many studies out there. The amount of suicide rate goes up proportionately to how much time they're spent online. Because you're looking for, I'm judged by other people rather than, I kind of like myself, It's a whole different thing. And as you can see, it goes up. Age 7 to 12, different things. And the Family Link and Apple, I have more information on that on parental controls. Because we all say parental controls, almost nobody sets them. And most people, all right, how many of you know how to set parental controls on your devices? Right? We should. And it's a simple thing, but we don't do it because we think, I'm going to know. And it goes down. I'm not going to read the whole thing. But basically, like you said, 13 to 15, that stage where we start seeing the stuff. First cell phone for kids, I have 4 that I recommend. Specific. Trumi, Gab, Pinwheel, and Bark. You guys ever heard of any of those? No. I love these. Gab, it's basically a big commercial for Gab. I'm going to bypass the commercial. Gab, in my mind, is the first phone if you're trying it out. Like, let's say you have a child that's on the spectrum and you're really like, or any child and you're like, he's a little, or she's a little. Gab, no internet at all. No internet, no apps. It's basically used for emergencies. You can call, you can receive calls. There's a camera on it, but you can't send or receive pictures, But if you have a child that's like, I want to give them the independence, and they feel so bad because everybody else in the class has a phone and I don't, but you're like, I don't want them, on the internet, this is it. This is the phone. It's been around a while. It's not the cheapest. None of the technology is cheap. Heck, the iPhones are, $1,200, Even though it always seems like I get them for free, but they're like $1,200. So Gab phone, absolutely love. Think first move into having a phone. No internet, kind of like that, kind of like that. And then Bark, I love the Bark product line. Just see what Bark can do.
Hi, this is Titania from Bark, and I wanted to walk you through some of the features of the Bark phone. The best, coolest, and safest kids phone on the market. The first thing you'll notice is that the Bark phone doesn't look like a kid's
Yeah,
phone.
you don't want it to
It's
look
sleek,
like the
and
Kid
there's no
Fire
obvious Bark
tablet.
branding. This means your kid will be more likely to use it. The best thing about the Bark phone is that you call all of the shots when it comes to parental controls. Want to lock it down and make it work essentially like a flip phone so your kid can only call grandma? You can totally do that. You can also allow any apps and functionality you want.
It's up to you which apps are on there or
it
not.
truly grows with your child. When it comes to phones, maturing isn't exactly a straight line. Some other phone companies that claim to offer good first phones for kids only allow access to apps they think are best, which isn't always what you think is best.
Please
That's
realize it's a commercial for Bark. They're gonna say they're the best.
The best feature
They're
by
really
far
good.
is that Bark's industry-leading
But-
monitoring comes built into the phone. Bark's
Not to go on, but there's so much parental control, so much things you can do. And what's nice with Bark in particular, and just so you all know, if I ever mention a product, we don't ever get any compensation for anything, not on the internet, even though people solicit us all the time. We don't, because we want to be able to say, no, this is just what we feel. What's nice with Bark, it comes with this Bark Home for $6 a month. You can just start with that. It control all of your computers and game systems from home. Monitoring, you know if they're logging on, you know what site. It's a really nice way, and if you upgrade it to the 29, it includes the Bark Home, that's for the phone. It's just really good. The feedback, the positive feedback from moms on this, through the roof. Easy to use, and it works, and it works. So I really like, those are two real good ones. The other ones are the, where is it? Toomey and Pinwell. I know I have that on there. Oh, there. Toomey and Pinwell. Those are the two other ones. So those are really the only 4 first phones. I'm talking definitely for kids on the spectrum, right? You don't want to give this, I think, to any kid at first, right? Like, the world is on here, and it's not always a thing we want to share with people that are younger than us. So we were talking during the break about parental controls. Most of us don't know parental controls. And don't flip the camera around, but all the professionals here didn't know the parental controls. So we did send this to everybody. For the people at home, you have it as well, and it's going to be kept on the website. This is like a quick guide for parental controls for Apple, one for Android. Why people own Android, I don't know. But, you know, for the people that do, they're here. And this is really, go to settings, type your name, type family share, you know, step by step by step. And if you go online, even more so. This is just the basic. You can drill down on these parental controls, and they're getting better all the time. So for Apple, if we want to take a look at that, setting up family sharing, one of the things in your phone. It allows parents to approve or decline purchases. That's kind of good. So, you know, I want to pay for Minecraft, you know, to get the super hammer. No, you know, or yes, if he earned it or she earned it. Set up screen time, downtime. Always allow contacts. So they cannot get new people, but you can set it up on your phone, certain contacts and certain apps, always available, no matter what. Emergencies. I want to be able to call mom and dad and, you know, brother John anytime I want. And maybe, for my more independent children, I want Uber and Lyft on there too. You know, just so if they're stuck, they can get picked out. And what I think is vital for my family may be different from what you think is vital for your family. But the point is, there's definitely better be a couple contacts and apps that are essential for the safety of the child. And when I say child, I mean anybody younger than me. You're all children. Turn off AirDrop. AirDrop's not a good thing for our kids. Android, Family Link, that's the Google's version of parental controls. You have 6 people. Digital Wellbeing, that's their name. That's the name of the parental control. It monitors the stream time and what apps they're on. You know how long they were on, and you know how long they were on specific apps. I was on Netflix for 20 minutes. I was on Twitter for 3 hours, or Instagram for 4 hours. You know, there's timers. You can set timers for apps. Okay, you could go on Instagram. You know, Instagram's okay for an hour. And you have it set up so who's ever using the phone, once the 60-minute mark hits, done. It won't let you do it until it resets the next day. Little things like that really make a difference. Bedtime mode, I don't know if you know what that is. It silences your ring and your notifications. One of the rules I have, and we're going to see in a little bit, I do not allow any devices in my son's bedroom at night. 0. We have a resting spot for it, you know, with its own charger, with a circle. Phone goes here, and the phone goes there at night, and it's not in his bedroom. It's not in his bedroom. Set driving monitor. There are apps that I would never allow to be used in the car. Netflix is one of them. Amazon Prime Video, another. People do watch movies when they drive. That's a thing. That happens. And just not movies, like FaceTime Messenger. No. You know, okay, maybe it's for a passenger. No. If my son's a passenger in the car, I can turn it off and allow him to watch it there. But once we get to the destination, I'm like, sorry, you can't watch Netflix if you're driving. So really good things. And the handouts here take you down step by step how to do. And while that sounds like a lot, and it is, super easy to do, but there's even more. You know, all you have to do, you know, advanced safety skills, parental skills on Android, and you're going to get more. But start with this. Get used to this. You want to make it just part of your life. You know, think how much safety we have coming into the school. Showing your ID, photocopying the ID if you're like an outsider, you know, coming in and the buzzes and the badges. It's okay, we do that. We need to do that for the internet. You know, it's more dangerous, I think, in the internet than just walking into a building. Should you have your child's passwords? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Everybody says yes. Absolute yes. 2 ways. In the beginning, absolutely. Not only does mom and dad should have their passwords, the kid better know that mom and dad have their passwords, and we're going to be checking in on you. Absolutely. In the beginning. The first phone, the first internet usage, absolutely. We need the passwords, and I'm going to do it. And something, I have a bunch of rules. One of my rules is any app that the child has, mom and dad has to download the same app and be on the app also. Every app, not just a few, not the ones he uses all the time. Every app that they have, that app needs to be, because you have to see it and go on every once in a while. And I like to call it a monthly audit. To go on once a month, just go through. Let's see what's going on here. Not that hard, but in the beginning, absolutely. What happens though, as the kid gets older? Now you have a 16-year-old who has been responsible, who has shown responsibility and that they can handle and they can manage it. What I recommend is, I still want their passwords, but now their passwords are in a sealed envelope. All of their passwords. Every password for every site is in there, sealed envelope. I get to hold it. Mom and dad gets to hold it. In case of an emergency. This, God forbid there's an emergency, something happens, I can rip open the envelope and have access. Parents have to promise, I will not open the envelope unless there's an emergency. And the kids have to promise, I will not change the passwords. So the passwords always have to be in that envelope. Because we can't control, nor should we, put a stranglehold on children. You know, my job as a very proud father of a young man with autism is to make him as independent and successful as possible before I die. That's it. We're all gonna die. Sorry. you know, but we're all gonna die. My job is to make him as independent as possible before that happens. Our kids on the spectrum, most of them are in school until 21. And if you're not aware of this, learning kind of stops at 21. And why does learning stop at 21? Because teaching stops at 21. After 21, you would like to think, oh, we're going on. No, most of it kind of stops. My son's in a great program. I'm not telling you the name because I don't want anybody else in the program. He's in a great program that is really like a high school 2.0. You know, really, really good. And they learn and they do stuff, and it's just the skill sets like through the roof, you know. We went to ShopRite and we did a whole grocery shopping. We bought 3 rolls. And I don't know how to ring up 3 rolls. Well, Chris stepped up, Dad. And we're doing on 3 rolls, kind of, how the heck do you know that? You know, little things like that. But if they've shown their ability to do it, we want to trust. We want to foster trust. Goes back to the whole family media agreement. It's you and me. It's you and us. It's all together to keep you safe, to keep you safe. Password managers. Does anybody here have a password manager? Does anybody here not know what a password manager is? Y'all know? Okay. No. Password manager, it's a software that manages all your passwords for everything you have. You know, who here has a piece of paper with all their passwords written on it? Anybody want to admit? No? There's a few. Yeah. Or on your notepad on your phone, you just write them all. Or take a picture of it because they can never find your picture. So password managers are a device, and they're pretty cheap, only a couple dollars a month. Those 4 are my favorite. 1Password, by far, the one I love. You know, it does so much. It increases the safety so much. You know, you're going to need like 8 children to be able to change your passwords enough. You know, I only got 2, so I go back and forth between the 2 names. But those 4 are the best. Hardware, software. I was trying to make a joke there, a word about that, and the word is ugh. The reason it's ugh, I can't hand you a piece of paper with the best ones on there. You know why? The ones made this week were better than the ones made last week. I just can't keep up with it. Now, for instance, 2 little things that we do, that nano block on the right, all that is a peel and stick with no residue to cover the cameras of any device. My son's PlayStation has one of those on it. There's a camera shining into your room, you know, that people can log on. The Ring camera, you know the Ring camera? In fact, I have one. It just went off. The deer were in my backyard again. Somebody hacked that recently, 2023, and we're talking to the young kids in there. So Johnny, you know, it was scary. And Ring had a whole, it was a disaster for a public relations disaster, and they changed stuff, and they said it can't happen. That happened last year. They were looking at the children and talking to them in their own homes. Like this happens. Password managers help with that. So we do have those stickers. I will never, ever allow anything with a camera in my son's bedroom. Just don't. The other ones, juice jacking. Does anybody know what that term is? Juice jacking, we see it a lot. Big places, airports. I was just on vacation, so I had my charger, plugged it into the charger at the airport. Well, there are devices that can, it's called juice jacking, pull your data off your computer if you plug it into a public outlet. Not even the Wi-Fi, their outlet, you can do it. So those devices that looks like a thumb drive, what it is, you stick your thumb drive into the hole and then plug the whole thing. It 100% stops data leakage. They're $3.99 on Amazon for a whole set of the different sizes too. Such a simple thing. I always keep a couple with me. So when I travel or I'm out, boom. I don't ever go in public and ever use my charger without that drive on there. And it's dollars, only a couple dollars to have it. So we're gonna have to have the conversation. You know, Rachel wants to go on the internet. So we teach our kids to wash their hands, we get all that. Look what we taught them for COVID, right? Look at what we learned in COVID. I still twinge a little on that. So it's the same thing. We have to teach internet safety, social media safety. The abuse rate of our children, kids on the spectrum, 7 out of 10 females with autism are sexually assaulted before their 18th birthday. 7 out of 10. For those of us who have sons, it's about a third. Every study says 30 to 35%. Why? Perfect victim. You know, touch your head, touch your nose, take your pants off, all the same thing. You know, my son knows he's not allowed to be naked in front of people. He knows it, he doesn't know why, but he follows the rules, but every once in a while, you know, my daughter had her friend over, another teacher, so my daughter and her friend who's a female as well. Chris is in the shower, and I'm like, Chris, make sure you don't leave the towel on the floor because we have guests over, and that's our public bathroom, right? So, okay, Daddy, and he comes out totally naked, holding the towel, but creeping like this, toe walking, because if I do that, you can't see me. And he goes by, hi, Kendall, totally naked, and drops the towel in the hamper, turns around, still naked. He's 29 years old. He's a man, still naked. Bye, Kendall. You know, just, you know, the innocence of him is cute, but people take advantage of innocence. People take advantage. And if we want to make that number of abuse worse, I am. Half of individuals with autism or any intellectual developmental disability who are sexually assaulted are sexually assaulted 10 or more times before they turn 18. It's not a once and done, it's ongoing. The stories, because I'm a police instructor, the stories that are shared with me keep me up at night. They're horrific. I can't believe there's people out there doing this. Like, what in you? That's why courses like this and you bringing this in it's so important for our families. We want to talk about this frequently. How frequently? Once a month. I mean, but make time for it. Put it on your calendar. Put it on your Google calendar. You know, I'm sitting down with my kid and talking. Heck, it could be part of the curriculum in the school. You know, Internet Safety Month, great month to go over. And if you go into the resources, NetSmarts and others, they have the whole teaching curriculum, so you don't have to think it up. All different ages, and of course, for the kids on the spectrum, for some of them, developmentally, they're going to be younger than their chronological age. So you might be given, like when my son was in high school, he would have been getting the, 5-year-old, 6-year-old. But some kids with autism are writing the books. So it really depends. If needed, you guys have experts. The schools have experts. Some are in the room now, to teach you how and the resources that we have. There's whole role-playing scenarios, everything. There's videos, there's games you can go on, and it's all free. Every resource out there is free with one exception, Smart Social. They want you to have a membership. Good for a school system, not so realistic for mom and dad, you know. But for a school district, I would say yes. Every single month. And here's the big one, the last one up there. Do not be punitive. You're not going, you cannot do that. Or if you went along and I come over your shoulder and I say, oh, you're looking at tushies, right? You're looking at little naked tushies. I'm not going to lose my mind on it. I'm going to explain why this could be dangerous, and maybe you forgot last month's conversation, but let's really sit down and talk about that and worry about the dangers. And as our kids get older, because autism is such a spectrum, right? We all know that. You have kids that high support needs, need a lot of help, and then you have on the other end of the spectrum, lower support needs, still autistic, still on the spectrum. Brilliant, brilliant. Many individuals with autism go to college. Many. Many individuals with autism will get a job. Most don't, about 80% don't, but that means 1 out of 5 do. There's a whole thing about shining on social media to do the monthly audits for the child on the spectrum, because it's either 80 or 90%, let's go 80, might be higher. Let's say 85 roughly, 85% of all employers look at social media now before they hire you. And it's a big thing. And you want to make sure that there's nothing on there that you wrote or somebody else wrote, and you want to do this monthly. And some of it's easy. If you're on Facebook, and I know our kids are not on Facebook, but for us, Facebook, the memories pop up. Well, let me look through this memory. I know I had a few memories. I'm like, oh, I don't go out with her anymore. Let me just delete that. Let me delete that. That was, brief period of time, click, or comments, because our kids who may struggle to get a job, some of the best employees out there, you tell them to do A, B, and C, they're going to do A, B, and C better than you or I probably, but may struggle. To have an amazing social media footprint for their projects, and there's all forums, there's one in here, one of the resources, all forums. How do I, as a potential college student or a potential employee, how do I make my life look the best it can on the internet to be hired? We got to start working and realize that. It's just not a fun thing. People look at it. I cannot tell you, well, I could tell you, dozens of times where the chief, because I'm friends with most police chiefs, and they're like, Gary, another one, great candidate. I mean, on paper, damn, cop's cop, right? We want him protecting our town. And he goes, look at this. Pulls up the social media account. Yeah, no, never in a million years. And not only does he not hire them, he lets his other chiefs know. Now the guys with the AK with the swastika behind them, thinking we shouldn't hire this guy, And it doesn't have to be that extreme. It could just be drinking. It could be underage drinking. It could be, comments, oh, I don't know how I got home last night. I don't want that person working for me, much less in law enforcement. Family media agreement. It's a 2-page document. We did email everybody, but it's online. Go on the POAC website, poac.net, because it's a fillable PDF. This way you can read it, you can change it, you can update it. And what a family media agreement is, mom and dad or whoever the caregiver is, oh, sorry, thank you. Where am I? There we are. Put you down. We're all sitting together, whoever the caregivers is and the individual, and we're having a whole conversation about, hey, what's fair? I want to be fair. I realize the internet is here. I know everyone has phones. I know everyone has computers and game systems. But we understand kids are being bullied. The suicide rate You guys ready for this stat? 30 years ago, when I started in all this, we didn't think handicapped people kill themselves. They don't do that. Not only do they do it, the rate of suicide attempt and completing suicide for individuals on the spectrum, 3 times higher than the general population. 3 times more. Can we understand why? The bullying, the abuse, just everything. I want to make friends. I don't necessarily know how. I want what you want, because everyone's the same. I just don't know how to get what you have, and it's rough. It's rough, and the numbers don't lie. And females with autism attempt suicide 4 times more than males, but males complete it because they choose more violent ways. But a lot of that, in my thinking, and many experts' thinking, goes back to the internet. The bullying, keeping up with the Joneses, are being put down. Every school district in the world should have an anti-bullying website, email up. Monroe, nobullymonroe.org, whatever it is. I don't care what it is, but it should be one that everybody knows. This way, if a student gets, you're a fat so-and-so, let me just send that email right over to nobully@Monroe or whatever the email is. But that's something every district should have. Every district by law has a bully specialist, right? By law. And I'm glad we've calmed down a little. For a while. It was like, okay, don't say bully here anymore to me. It was like crazy, but some really good changes have happened because of that. But the internet is a big start of all that. Feeling not worthy, feeling less than, all the challenges, looking like everybody else, it's critical. So the family media agreement, everyone signs it. We treat it as a legal document, and what's fair? How many hours a week should you spend on free time on the internet? Maybe you think 10. Maybe mom and dad says, 5. Well, no, it really has to be 10. Maybe you're right, or maybe we compromise on 7. Are you okay with 7? Are you really okay? Because we're going to keep you to 7, but we want to make sure we're on the same page here, because we want you to do good in school, we want you to do this. This is not like one conversation. It's year-long conversation, monthly meetings, think of it like the MAD contract, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which says, you can call me drunk from a party, I'm not going to yell. I'm just going to come and pick you up, and everything's good. And maybe we will address it down the road, but you're not going to get yelled at, and you're not going to get, punished because of that, because you called me to save yourself and be, responsible. Same thing with this. And it's everything. I have to put my old man glasses on. And, I understand access to my device is a privilege, and breaking this agreement will lead to the following consequences. You have the consequences in here. So all right, you agree to 7, but you've been doing it for 21? Well, here's the consequence that you agree to. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Just realize, life-changing. The social media agreement is life-changing for the family. And it gets us talking. Because we don't know how to have those talks, right? How do you have those talks that are intense? Because you know how serious this is. Family media walks you through. We even have videos how to fill it out and stuff, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Self-moderation. The kids actually lead this. And you'd be surprised. Very often the children are more hard on themselves than you would be. Well, Dad, I think 5 hours is good. I was going to give them 8. And some of our kids may need a reminder. For Christopher, he has a limit, 5 hours a week of whatever he wants on the internet. Now, we have guidelines, appropriate, right? But 5 hours, whatever you want. Chris struggles with keeping track. We have a penny board, 10 pennies. Every penny is 30 minutes of the internet. Oh, you want 30 minutes? Take a penny, drop it in the bin, and once all those pennies are gone, no more internet until Sunday. He's fine with that. Maybe we want to increase the number of pennies. No, do most people need a visual reminder? Absolutely not. My son does. If your child or student needs it, yes. Yeah. I've worked with students in the classroom, and the visual reminder, I just have something printed on their desk, and rather than call out Susie, I just come up and I just tap the paper, and it's like, okay, these are the rules, and nobody else really kind of notices, and it's very nonchalant, and I'm trying to stay stiller for the camera, but as you can tell, I do kind of move a lot. Sorry. But again, we got to get buy-in. If you don't get buy-in from the student, from the child, it won't work. It's another piece of paper. Yeah, Mom, I won't do that. Oh. All right, so we got to get them to good content, right? That's what it is. The internet's crazy, how much stuff is out there. I remember when my son Christopher got diagnosed. He's 29, right? So many, many years ago. I wrote up directions to teach the parents in the parent support group what the internet was and how to search for things on the internet using Ask Jeeves, that was one, if you remember Ask Jeeves, AOL, when everyone had an AOL, email address. 30 years ago, there was no internet, right? 25 years ago, people still didn't know how to use it. And now, everything's there. And we were talking about AI, which just totally blows my mind. But you want to guide them. You want to view their activity. Not all screen time is the same. Manage their apps. Who also has the apps? Mom and Dad have that. Every app you better have. You absolutely better have. You approve or block. Feed the curiosity. Go to your social media specialists. Go to your teachers. What are really good apps? Next time you have a team meeting, hey, do any of you have apps that would just blow the kids away? COVID wasn't all bad. What COVID did do was give us a lot of really good resources on the computer. That was really, really nice to have and still exist. So when you have those, solicit them, but definitely share them with staff across the whole school and with the family as well. Screen time. You got to have limits on screen time. You have to. Do your kids have limits on screen time? Yes? Yes?
Mine.
No, okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. My daughter doesn't. She's 56, she's an accountant in Queens. Apps. It's all about apps, right? Smart Social, I don't know if you know this, I highly recommend the school district getting their professional membership for Smart Social. A lot of really good stuff on there, really good stuff. One of the things that I love, they have app zones, green, red, and gray. Red is don't let your kid on this app. Green, you think green would be great. Green is it can positively affect as long as they're supervised and on top of it with parental guidance. Without the parental guidance, even the green apps that are pretty good could be really, really bad. Really, really bad. There are hundreds of them. I'm not going to name them all. I wrote in a few if you want to take a picture or a screenshot if you're home. But all this is on the website, Smart Social. These are green ones. And when they have recommended ages, I put the recommended ages up there. And of course, you can have happy kids at 4+ and maybe a 15-year-old's doing if that's where they are on the spectrum. But you also have other ones like Instagram, and there's some bad stuff on Instagram. Like bad stuff on Instagram. But it's actually with parental supervision. The problem is, here's your phone. Let me know when you need a new one, right? So these are the pretty good ones, and they're way more than this. These are the ones, no way, no how, you know. And we get OnlyFans, right? If you don't know what that is, it's people getting naked for money, basically. No, that's and it's something people are, they actually subscribe for like $5 a month. You get all the naked pictures you want of Johnny or Susie, whoever is up. And there's millions of accounts out there. The amount of money that they bring in is well over $1 billion a year. All of these are bad. What a problem with a lot of these are apps that you don't have to say who you are or give an email. Anonymous apps where you could just go on and you don't know if a 12-year-old is talking to a 50-year-old or good, bad. These apps are really, really bad. And some of them you wouldn't think, like Reddit. Reddit seems, but Reddit is like not, it's so easy to go downhill on that. And a lot of these are bad. Call of Duty. It's a game that probably half the school plays. Why is that bad? What's a potential bad thing about Call of Duty and a lot of other games? And I'm not talking the violence. Playing with a lot of people, you can talk to anybody and you don't know who anybody is.
Same with that Discord, right?
All of those. All of those. It's scary. And there are predators going after our kids. I'm a big guy. I know every bakery from here to my house, right? Every bakery, every good Italian restaurant. I know where to go. Abusers know where to get the kids. Where do they get the kids? Where they could talk to anybody they want and not have their name. Well, who was it? Well, there has to be records of it. No, really, really bad stuff. Really, really bad stuff. And the stories that I've heard over the years keep me up at night. They keep me up at night. What apps did my kid purchase? Do you know what apps your children have purchased? Do you know how to tell? This is how you tell. Real easy. To find all the hidden apps on an iPhone so they can remove the app from the device. It's still in there, but you don't see it. There's a way to hide it. Really easy too. But if you want to say, you have your Apple phone, open the App Store, real easy. Click on their profile, select purchased. Every app ever downloaded, paid or unpaid, will list. Shocked how much, you'd be shocked how much nonsense you downloaded. Like, why the hell? Yeah, why? Yeah, right, you know, it looked good, and I'm like, every once in a while I go through, I'm like, why do I have this? For Android, again, I don't know why people use no Android love. But that's how you do it for Android, the same, you know, different things. And when do you check those? When would you check all those apps? When's a good time to check it, to discuss it with your kid? During your monthly audit, exactly. All tied in, all tied in. And if you're on the same apps, you can search and you can see what's going on. Know your green, gray, and red apps. You gotta know them, you know? And the names are odd, right? Like BitLife. Oh, this was a good one. Calculator. Private photo. Well, you open it up, it's a calculator. It works. You want to know the square root of 144? It tells you. What it is a place to hide naked pictures of people. But when you go up, what do you, oh, you're doing math, okay. Yeah. Designed to do it. Instagram. You ever heard of the term Finstagram? Do you know what that is? It's a fake Instagram account for mom and dad. Let me see your Instagram. Here it is. Oh, he studied 6 hours a night. You know, helps old ladies across the street. Yeah. Where's your real one? And there's a way to find out all of their Instagram accounts. Most people, most students have multiple. They have multiple TikTok accounts. They have multiple, everything. It's crazy. That's how you load them. Suggestions for parents and school staff. Visual supports. Individuals with autism are visual learners. We know that. Visual supports are really super important for safety tips, going over, having it posted. And it could be something like, for my son, I have a laminated, because I love laminate. If you're ever a teacher, you love to laminate. I'm like, I can laminate this? So we have, I'm not even joking. We have to circle the phone rest here. It reminds my son, to put it there, right? That. But someone who's lower support needs than Chris might not even need that, but maybe they could have something pop up, a reminder on their phone, right? Turn my phone to bedtime mode every night. You can use your technology to remind you to do what you should do. Role play. I love role play. Going back and forth. And when you go into the resources, they give you the role play. You don't have to come up with it. So, you're being safe there, right? No, it tells you what to say and how to say it. Social stories, if you know what they are. Carol Gray started them many years ago. Love social stories. A probationary period for any new device or app, frankly. Mom, I want this new app. Johnny Quest 2000. All right, let's both download it, and when we have our next monthly audit, let's see how we like it, what we both think. And if you have a new device, you really want that new, PS5? You want the new phone? All right, giving you 30 days with it to see if you're responsible, if you're on top of it, and where would you put that information? Family media agreement. Any new devices have a 30-day, it's on there. And again, because we got buy-in from the student, they're not gonna feel like you're clamming down on them. You agree to these rules. And if you ever want to reevaluate them, let's discuss it. The penny example, I put that up there. I'm a big IEP guy. Safety skills need to be in the IEP. Period. Let me say that one more time for my viewers at home. Safety skills need to be in the IEP. Period. Now, depending on where the individual is on the spectrum, their developmental level, their cognition. What was never in my son's IEP was the ability for him to be recognized that he was being bullied. He does not have that ability. And if someone came up to him and said it with a smile, "Oh, Christopher, you're such a big retard, Chris," and they use that word, but they said it with the smile like this, what would Chris say to them? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. He doesn't know that. So that wasn't in my son's IEP because it wasn't an appropriate goal for him. But what was his IEP was to limits and not be able to download anything without asking permission. Miss Susie, can I download this? Let's see. So just because they might not be able to handle one thing doesn't mean they can't handle something else. Has to be in the IEP. All safety skills need to be in the IEP. They have to be, and they're not. They're vitally important. Life expectancy for you and I, 78.7 years. Females live a little longer than males, but on the average, 78.7 years. Multiple studies came out in the past 4 years on the life expectancy of individuals with autism. Take a guess. What do you think the life expectancy is? Higher or lower, or the same? Lower, higher, middle? 36 years old. less than half. Why? Preventable deaths. Preventable. Not accidental. Accidental, I walk back and forth here, I trip and fall and hit my head on nothing, and I expire, that's an accidental death. Preventable death, I know the number one cause of death for kids with autism 14 under is drowning. I don't close the gate to my pool. Kid goes in the pool and drowns. That's not an accident. That's a preventable death. And a lot of it's tied in with safety all around. You know, we didn't even talk about challenges. If you're aware of those, the social media challenges, there was a huge one that was horrible where the kids were swallowing laundry pods. That was a thing. They were really doing that. Kids died because of that. That's not an accidental death. Preventable. And let's face it, individuals on the spectrum are more vulnerable to suggestions and bullying because they want what everybody else wants, because they're like everybody else. I want to be your friend, and oh, this is how we make friends? Yeah. NetSmarts, can't stress them enough. Look into them. They have, and it's all free. District doesn't have to pay teachers, and they have specific training broken out for school personnel and for the parents, because we understand it's gonna be different. Kids safe search engines, most people don't realize that. I mentioned earlier, when stuff pops up, like St. Teresa, that was no St. Teresa. Another time when my daughter was 9 years old, we were having our annual gala for our charity, and the theme was Oscars. And we presented Oscars to the best teacher, to the best administrator, to the best, township employee. And so my wife was like, it'd be nice to buy a chocolate Oscar, wrapped in the gold foil. So our 9-year-old daughter's on her lap. Where can I buy a chocolate Oscar? Use your own imagination. Let's say we did not buy that chocolate Oscar, but it popped up instantly. It wouldn't with the kid safe engines. I don't list them because you know why? There's better ones today than there were yesterday. But Google has them, Amazon, like they have them out there. Apple has them. And 11 great search engines. They're so easy to use. And once you have it, what do? You bookmark it so they know they can go on there. My son's into Thomas the Tank Engine, the train. Really useful engine. Chris is 29. We have gone to see Day Out with Thomas in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania for the past 27 years. That's 2. And we're going again this year. That's probably Chris telling me when are we going? Oh, you're in for a treat. Hey, Chris, I'm talking to the teachers. Say hi to the teachers.
Hey guys, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey.
What time do we call Jeff for the sheriff?
Oh, we will. Chris, wait. I want to show one thing to everybody. Give me a month. June, give me a day. June 2nd, 1970. What day of the week was it? Tuesday. What movie came out that year? The Aristocrats. All right, Chris, I will call you when I'm home. I love you.
What time do we
Listen to me. I will call you at 8:10. 8:10 tonight, I will call you. All right, say goodbye to everybody. All right, that was mine. He does the Irish goodbye. We are Irish. But that's a young boy who couldn't say a single word at 5. He didn't know his name was... I'm not answering again. This goes off. And we're going to listen to it vibrate for the next 30 minutes. Sorry about that, but I'm just, and he's joyful, and you could see how someone could take advantage of him. So definitely look at safe, and you want to start bookmarking. Oh, the reason I was talking about Thomas. There are sick people out there, just so you know. There are sick, bad people out there. I always tell my kids, and I believe this with all my heart, there's more good people than bad people, absolutely. But there's enough bad people that's a pain. My son's into Thomas the Tank Engine. He watches it on his iPad all the time. And he usually watches it holding the iPad in the front seat. I'm driving, laughing. I can look over to see what is there. Well, this day he had Thomas, and I go to lean over, and he turns it away from me. Chris, let me see. No, it's okay, Daddy. Chris, let me see it. No, it's fine. No, it's okay. I forgive you, Daddy. I'm like, one, I didn't do anything wrong, And I'm like, let me see. He lowers it, and it's just the Thomas the Tank Engine episode. Thomas Meets the Queen. I remember that episode, right? And he said, okay, all done, Daddy. Chris, unplug the headset. I want to listen to it. No, thank you. Chris, unplug it. They unplugged it. I will not even attempt to think of a nicer way to say what was being said on that tape. What this individual did, they took a real Thomas the Tank Engine episode, deleted the soundtrack, and made it XXX pornographic. And Chris thought it was hysterical, And he knew he shouldn't watch it, And he's never used a bad word in his life, but he was like, let me just, I was like, what, Daddy, what? Because he was just searching. Randomly came up. So now, the Thomas sites that he likes are bookmarked. And you go on those, you don't search. Okay, Daddy, Risk, why? What are the risks? Screen time addiction, do you see that already? Yeah. Bullying, huge. On TikTok, there's always another creator killing themselves over being it's so common, we don't even, it doesn't even surprise us anymore. Exposure to explicit content, privacy breaches, fraud. Picture our guys on the spectrum, the more independent guys. Young man and this beautiful woman who happens to be famous, emails you on Facebook, hey, I like the way you look, do you want to be friends? Over and over and over. Young man that I know, Michael, full permission to use the story, I won't say his last name. The female manager for a professional wrestler, don't ask me who, I used to know who it was, but she started sending, and next thing, he was working, I won't say where he was working, he had a real job, and he started sending money and jewelry and everything, because that was his girlfriend. Wasn't his girlfriend. But that not knowing and not talking and not, and when he found out it wasn't, it was devastating to him, devastating. The news, Apple, right? This is from the Washington Post. Apple, one of the most respected, internet people out there, says the App Store is a safe and trusted place. Well, Washington Post looked at the App Store on Apple, and they found 1,500 reports of unwanted sexual behavior just on 6 apps, many of those geared towards children. 6 apps, 1,500. 6 apps. You know how many apps there are? Millions. 6. If you've never done this fun thing, it's a horrible thing, but you go on these websites, if you want to take a picture of the people at home, sex abuse, I want to know who's living in my neighborhood. It is shocking. Their picture comes up, their address comes up, what they did, who they did it to, not their names, but their ages, all there, all there. You want to know this. There was a young man who has since committed suicide. He got contacted by somebody on Facebook. He was a 19-year-old person contacted him, who was in his 40s. They met, They had let's say, a mutual physical encounter, and then the man started blackmailing. And the young boy actually ended up committing suicide just a few years ago. This happens. The suicide rate is up there for our kids for a reason. For many reasons, not one. This is one of them. And if we think it can't happen to our child, all you're doing is making it more likely that it will. I know that sounds harsh, but it's the reality. National Centers for Missing and Exploited Children, oh dear God, do I love this organization. I've worked with them so many times. I love these guys. The information on their website, mind-blowing. They're good, and everything they do is free. Everything they do is free. You know, Mom's always coming down on me about the computer. Mom's always bitching, excuse my language, right? Like, Mom, come on, Mom, just stop it. Just stop. What could happen if I show a 6-second clip of my house? I'm not telling anybody where I live. I want you to make sure you can get the screen. 6 seconds, that's all.
You asked me to figure out where this video was recorded, so I did. Hi, I'm Jose Monkey, and I find people who ask to be found. This one would have been extremely difficult if not for one key clue. The video is just 6 seconds long. Let's check it out.
That's it. Doesn't
So
know
what can we see?
where he is in the
Video shows
world.
A pretty generic neighborhood, just some houses and cars. You turn the camera and we can see this tall building, but that's really about it. I didn't see any signs or license plates or anything else that might tell us where this is. I made a note of the tree here and the stones surrounding this plant, just in case that was helpful.
Bless you.
And I also made a quick note of what the houses here look like. For those of you who've seen a lot of my videos, you probably already know how I'm going to find this place. The building that you showed us is rather distinctive, and I assumed it had to be photographed before. If
But he
for no
doesn't
other
know
reason
what
than to
country,
advertise
what
commercial real
anything.
estate. So I grabbed the still frame from your video and did a quick reverse image search. Right away I got some results that seemed to point to a specific building in California. I checked it out on Google Maps, and the 3D view looked like a plausible match. So I just scanned around that area to look for a place that would be about the right distance from the building and at the angle that would be consistent with your video. I couldn't see too many street level details from the aerial view since there are a lot of trees here, but I did notice this one street where I saw a patch of ground that looked like this. That looked like it might be the plants with the stones around them like we saw in your video. So I zoomed in and checked it out, and it was the right spot. You're standing on this street in the downtown north neighborhood of Palo Alto, California. I don't want to say the street name since this is a
But he knows the
residential
street
area,
name,
and
he knows the
robots
house
might be
number.
saying that, but I used Google Street View to confirm the details from your video. That patch of ground I saw from the aerial view is actually this spot over here by the utility poles. But just a few feet away, I found this spot which matches your video. Of course, I was also able to confirm that this house matched your video, as well as these two houses which we see in your video. And of course, I checked that I could see the building, which got us here.
If that doesn't scare
Anybody else
you,
would like me to figure out where
I don't know what will.
Please tag me in a comment.
6 seconds. That was it. I wasn't saying where I lived, my house number. You couldn't see my house number. Would you ever think from that, tell me where I live? 6 seconds. Much less, what's the mascot here? Falcon. You go Falcons, or wearing a shirt of Falcons. Oh, I'm sure there's a couple towns in New Jersey that have Falcons, but only a couple. Right? You know, I grew up in Lakewood. We were Lakewood Piners. We were the only Piners. We were the only Piners. And our mascot was a lumberjack. And everyone could be the mascot because it was blue jeans, flannel shirt. You're a lumberjack. But that scares me. The clip and the technology and what they're doing with AI now. Something staff needs to know on our resource list, the last one on there, stopsextortion.com. Incredible, step by step what to do legally and how to stop this. This is something that we see in the high schools all the time. I know 6 cases personally. We had a young boy with autism, a teenager, sweatpants, hands down his pants. Another student took the picture, whole school had it. Well, that's child pornography the second you send that. You know, this tells you how to stop it and how to get on top and what agencies to call. Really, really good stuff. Where's my kid, right? They found my house, now my kid is missing. What can you do? Every service provider, back to the internet, Verizon, T-Mobile, all of them have family locators on their phone. For $10 a month, you can add it to your smartphone. So set up your child's phone with geozones, which is like an imaginary line, as big as small as you want. I will pick the high school, if he's a high school student here, my house, and say if grandma babysits grandma's house. Every time his device, phone, Apple Watch, whatever, enters or leaves the zones that I set up, mom and dad are notified instantly. It's 2:30, Johnny just left Monroe High School. Oh yeah, school's over, 2:30. 11 o'clock, he just left Monroe High School. Maybe there's an issue. $10 a month, most families don't even know it out there. And there's like free apps that, I know, Life 360. I love that. I used that for my daughter while she was in college. Her mom called her up and said, why were you out till 2 o'clock in the morning, night before school? I'm a grown woman. I picked up the phone. You're a grown woman who doesn't pay their phone bill. I do. Why were you out to 2 o'clock in the morning? So Life 360, while I normally don't name specific apps, that's been around a really long time. It's awesome. 49%, half of everybody with autism will go missing. Half. Half of our kids go missing, often with tragic results. So to be able to locate them on their phones, on their devices, on their watches, everything. The internet could be used for such good things. Please, if wandering is an issue with your students or your family, on the POAC website, we have a whole safety section. We cover everything from police, fire, water safety, and wandering, and transportation, internet, and more. There's 8 different safety areas that we cover. But get everyone signed on to that. Project Lifesaver, devised by the Sheriff's Department and others. NetSmarts, talked about them a few times. I love NetSmarts, really good. And what's nice is there's stuff for all different ages, and they go into the older kids too, which is nice. And they do it in a way that, it's not them, listen now, we all know to be, no. Real scenarios and like real, it's done incredibly. And it's all free. So what are the rules? Some of the rules in the media agreement could be no phones at the dinner table. And if it's no phones for the kid, guess who also is no phones for? Mom and dad, and every other person at that table. You can't say, for my child with autism, you can't have your phone at the table, but your sister, the school teacher, can. No. No phones or phones. No phones, and it should be no phones. No devices in the kid's room. And again, if it reaches a certain level, okay, no, I rather err on the side of caution. No devices while doing homework if it's not being used to do the homework, right? So if they have a computer for homework, fine. Their phone and iPad should be away, not next to them, not binging, even at night, and I'm sleeping, I don't sleep well, and I hear the ding, I'm not gonna look. I'm not gonna. Damn it. I looked, and then it's up, I'm like, all right, let me just see if there's anything else here, and it's like, let me see if work responded. Next thing I know, it's like an hour and a half later, and then it's like in the morning, I'm like, I'm so tired. I don't even know why I'm so tired. You can see all this stuff. No meeting anybody in real life, unless you know them. How do you know if they know them? If you had dinner with them at your house. What's a stranger? What's a stranger? That's a rough question. I'm Mr. Gary, known by Mr. Gary to thousands of kids. We've been doing this for years. We've had hundreds of thousands of people attend our rec events, and all the kids know me. And I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'4", and I always wear a bright orange polo hat, always. Because you can see me a mile away. So when we're doing our surf camps or swimming, look for the orange hat. Everybody knows, look for the orange hat, you know. And the kids all come up, Mr. Gary. I've had 3 children dress up as me for Halloween. Not together, 3 separate times. I was the person they dressed up with. I'm gonna be Mr. Gary, orange hat, POAC shirt, you know. I had somebody else did a Build-A-Bear, named him Mr. Gary. And I had half a dozen, maybe more, maybe about 8 students on career day. What do you want to be? I want to be Mr. Gary. And dozens of times, maybe 4 or 5 dozen times, a counselor called me up. Who are you? You know, I'm like, what? Because they said their best friend is Mr. Gary, and we just kind of, you know, or mom and dad think it's funny, or they write the, you know, my favorite person in the world is Mr. Gary. And I am a nice guy. You don't know me, you know? And is Mr. Gary a stranger? Yeah. You know, yeah. You know my name, but it doesn't mean you should drive along with me in my car, because you shouldn't. You know, you shouldn't. And there's rules here. You know, what's a stranger? And it's not as clear cut as you think. I've had dozens of requests from students, some of my students, some kids I just worked with, to be my friend on Facebook. Or the answer is, not only is it no, I then contact their parents. I'm like, just so you know, your kid just sent me a Facebook friends request. And you know what response I get more often than not? Oh, that's nice. Oh, that's cute. I'm like, no, it's not appropriate. It's not. A teacher shouldn't have their students on social media. They shouldn't, you know. Heck, I wouldn't want my students on some of the stuff I have. Beware of free stuff. It's not. It's not. Play it safe. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this kind of really is a recap of everything, a review of everything we said, kind of going over that monthly meeting that we're having, the audit. Go over, hey, and let's just go over this again. You know, you learn by repetition. You know, so, you know, is Mr. Gary a friend? Like, would you go, well, yeah, no, because, you know, while we know him and you may know Coach Johnny, we really don't. And it's okay to have circles. In fact, one of the, if you're in special ed, you probably know the circle, you know, thing we've done forever for intimacy. And like, no, I'm not in that circle. I'm close. You know me, we can high five. I'm not taking you home. I'm just not. Let a trusted adult know. Who is that? Okay, maybe I could be a trusted adult to be told something, but not to go. Attachments. I got something from my bank. My bank. I checked the email. Wells Fargo. An attachment, delete. I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is. I don't like to open attachments. I've been burned too many times in the past. I just don't do it. You guys work for schools. A lot of times when we email your school address, it never makes it to you because it's kicked out. And especially if we send a big one, hey, we got this great free training going on. But because we sent it to 80 Monroe or whatever town, kick. Oh, that must be spam. We gotta. Yeah. So it's like, it's hard to bypass this stuff. Feelings are important. And I mean that. And it's just, if someone says something to you or does something or that you just feel creepy about, there's usually a reason. You know, it's funny, when I train my police officers, I'm like, you know, individuals with autism very often don't know personal space. And I pick a recruit and I go right up to them, like an inch away. And I always make the joke, don't look at me, it's gonna make it weird, right? You know, but I never pick a female recruit because that's creepy, right? It's weird just doing that to another male, but to do, and the teacher to do it to the student, which is a recruit, is my student, you know, so if something's making you feel icky, or whatever you want to say, you got to let mom and dad know, or trusted adult. Maybe I can't talk to mom and dad because they're a little, you know, crazy themselves, but maybe I could talk to Miss Susie or my counselor. But you want them to have people they can go to. You know, information, it's not always true just because people say it is. Spending money online, and you could alleviate that right now with those controls that we went over. You could stop allowing them to do it. Act politely, friends, stay online, enjoy yourself, have fun. Parents' rules, and we're almost done here. Always, always, always have the same apps. I've said that a bunch of times. We need to do that, and we need to go on there. And in the beginning, you want to see what their posts and what their comments are. Know their passwords. Went over that already. When they're young, no, there's no privacy. My house, my rules, when you're 7, you know. When you're 16 and you've been a responsible student, okay, let's put it in a sealed envelope. Just makes sense because you want to build independence. Don't let them sleep with their phones, all this stuff we know. So my social media star, Christopher, hold on to your hats. This is a young man at 5, only knew 3 words, rooster, ketchup, and no. Did not know his name was Chris. This is him today. So many people asked if Christopher likes The Wizard of Oz.
Starring Judy Garland, Ray Bolger, Jack Haley, Bert Lark, and Frank Morgan.
What year did it come out, Chris?
This is The Wizard of Oz 70th Anniversary DVD, September 29th, 2009.
When was it released originally?
This is The Wizard of Oz movie back in 1939.
And
This is The Wizard of Oz movie is rated C.
and who was the film company who released it? Do you know? Was it
MGM UA Home Video.
MGM? And who was the director?
Victor Fleming.
And who was the producer?
Merlin Vervoy.
Mervyn LeRoy. I guess he likes it a little bit. Say goodbye to everybody.
So long, everyone.
He's such a good, like, so pure, and we love doing the social media, like we've been viewed millions of times, millions. It's like crazy to me. But we're getting it out, we're doing a lot more training, we're reaching so many more families for it, but, so there's good sides too. How cute is that kid? I could play it again for $5. I mean, I will pay you $5 to let me play it again. So when I talked earlier for our kids who are going on, who are going to get a job, and hopefully that number increases higher than 20%, but right now it's 1 out of 5, right? But for all students, every student in this school, you want to shine online, you do the audit, and you literally do this, incognito mode. Did you know there's incognito mode? It's really good because then it doesn't have your information. So if you search for stuff, it's really a way to get brand new information. Versus if I search for stuff, it's going to be all about law enforcement, all about autism, and all about the Camino in Spain. Those are the 3 things that, you know, I'm into and I do, so that if I just type the search for new tissues for the Camino de Santiago, or new tissues for law enforcement officers, incognito is just going to show me. So when you're doing the self-audit on the student, on the child, incognito, this way their name's not already in there. And when you do your monthly checks, 4 different ways. First name and last name. Then first name and last name, but in quotes. And then first name, last name in quotes, and then the city. And then first, last, and school. Those 4 ways really cover everything. And you will be able to know right away if they have a social media footprint, which you really don't want. Which you really don't want. You definitely should not have 13 below. 0. And I would say half the kids already do. But it's dangerous. It's dangerous. Goes on, reflect. This goes step by step. All of it's online. I'm not going to read it to you. You can see it. You know, but it's all here and have fun. But there's ways we tell you how to do it, how to check your Twitter account, how to check, because you want it to be clean. You don't want nonsense on there. Not going to go over the individual apps. We know what they are, but the numbers are 800 million people watching, 2 billion people on YouTube. 2 billion people. How many United States is that, right? Like, think of it that way. And what you watch on YouTube is all determined by algorithm. And our children, boys in particular, with autism, tend to go down this rabbit hole on pornography and often child pornography. Not understanding, oh, this kid's being hurt. Not putting 2 and 2 together, and by looking at this and viewing it or sharing it, it's actually causing harm to a child. I mean, there's a whole thing just on that. And we have to really watch that. That's where all the managers and the locks and all the stuff we talked about can really help. I can't say eliminate. And I can't keep your kids safe online. We can absolutely keep them safer online, you know. And everything else, we could get rid of it virtually. You know what virtually means? Almost, not quite. You know, there's still going to be black Oscars popping up. Not going to go over them all, but like it just, 1 billion people on Instagram. 1 billion people. You know, Snapchat and Netflix, 61 million. Netflix is getting less and less. Those resources are some of my favorite, but all of my favorite resources are right here. Smart Social, I like. The parents could sign up for free to get a newsletter. They do try to sell you stuff all the time. That's the one downside with Smart Social. Everything else is free. I kind of like Smart Social. It's like, I subscribe to it. We are having walkathons. Please come out to our walks. Close to Monroe. We have Sayreville right up the road, and Woodbridge, not that far. It's how we pay for everything that we do. That's it, guys. We went over a heck of a lot. And you've been a good audience. Any questions? And I don't know if the ladies got handouts. You get the handouts. And we do have brochures. If you have any first responder connection, you know, we trained over 78,000. Regular POAC brochure. And then we have an online parent caregiver support group. We have 8,900 New Jersey families on there already. And that's one it's a closed Facebook group. Not for teachers unless you also have a kid with autism, you know. Some of us went, yay! But all really good resources, and this stuff would be great. On behalf of just not my children, but all the children you guys are educating and taking care of, just thank you for your time.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you.